This is the best lander that I have ever and will ever create. This is 21st century technology from Kerbal. This is a giant rolling ball on Duna. Okay, so as soon as I saw these gigantic hydrogen tanks that are shaped like a sphere, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get this thing on a planet without any lander legs and just have it roll around. So I got the small command pod, I put a few of the reaction controlled wheels on it, put a battery on it, and put some solar panels on there so that it could stay powered. Here is my test launch right here, making sure it works. And now it is time to take this thing to Duna. So I put, for the first stage, there are 4 Clydesdale solid rocket boosters. There's also a Mammoth 2 engine, and that's the first stage. And when those break off, the second stage is the LV-SW engine, the Swerve hydrogen engine. And that engine is running off of that golden hydrogen tank that's below the ball right there at the top. So I completely emptied all of the fuel out of the hydrogen tank, the big sphere one that we're actually landing on. That's just so I can actually move the thing around. Lighter things are easier to get rolling. And so the entire second stage is run off of that golden hydrogen tank that's below it, and that ball is just completely empty. Alright, so I'm going to speed up the rest of the footage of us getting into orbit. Before I launched this thing, I went into the tracking station and time warped until Kerbin was at the right place so that I could do the burn to Duna. In case you're curious, just Google Duna transfer window and you'll be able to find where the planets need to be. So with the Duna transfer window set up, all I had to do was make a burn on the opposite side of Kerbin from the sun, and that would eventually take me to Duna as long as nothing messed up. I ended up overshooting Duna by quite a bit, but that was okay. All I had to do was make a few correction burns. I'm still getting used to this game, still figuring out the maneuver nodes and everything. I'm a pretty good flyer in KSP 1, but this game is just, it's quite a bit different, or at least it feels different enough that I can't seem to do the things that I was able to do in KSP 1 in this game. But that's okay, we'll get used to it and we'll get better. So I overshot Duna. I just had to burn retrograde for a bit to bring that orbit down so that I can get in an encounter with Duna. And then after I did that, I traveled into deep space and made a whole bunch of correction burns to get the periapsis much closer to Duna. I'm going to go ahead and skip all of that footage because it is very boring, and I'm just going to cut to right here. We have entered Duna's sphere of influence, and we can see the pretty red planet. In case you haven't seen the polar ice caps of Duna in Kerbal Space Program 2, they look amazing. Like I said in my last video, the team did a really good job of revamping all of the planets and the moons and just making the Kerbal system very beautiful. This is the first time I'd gotten to Duna in Kerbal Space Program 2, and I just really appreciated those polar ice caps. And now we're making the burn to slow us down and get into orbit of Duna. I had quite a bit of fuel left in this spot, even though I messed up in the beginning, overshot Duna, had to use a bunch of fuel to actually get to Duna, wasted fuel there, but I still had plenty of fuel left to get us into orbit. And then I believe I went around back to my periapsis after I got into orbit and brought the apoapsis down so that when I entered the atmosphere I would not be going as fast. This launch and this vehicle are kind of weird, and I say that because I don't think that they've added heating to the game. In fact, I know they haven't added heating to the game. I don't know when they're going to add heating to the game. This footage was recorded about a week ago. I don't think they've updated it though and added heating yet. And again, I know they're going to eventually, so this might not work when they added heating. We're going to have to, I don't know, add some heat shields or something, because this fuel tank might burn up coming into the atmosphere. Again, I did bring my apoapsis down quite a bit, so I'm not entering Duna very fast, and Duna does not have a crazy thick atmosphere. So there's a chance that this would be fine, even with heating in the game. When they add it, there's a chance this would be fine, would get to the ground no problem, but there's a chance it would burn up, and I'd either have to change this around or come in a little bit more gently, although I don't think I can come in any more gentle than I did here in this video. So we'll see. When they add heating to the game, I'm going to have to change this up a bit. I'm hoping to actually send these things all over the Kerbal solar system before they add heating to the game. Land, on Lathe, and maybe even try to land on Joule with one of these things before they end up adding heating to the game. So I need to get on that before that happens. But yeah, this was a pretty simple landing. I had, again, no fuel in this tank and there's no rocket. It's just all parachutes. I was coming down pretty fast. I really thought that the tank would blow up when it hit the ground, but it didn't. I did some spinning, and that brought down my speed by a little bit, but I don't know if that really helped at all. I might have to add a few more parachutes to this thing. Actually, I don't think I will. Like landing on Eve, I could probably just do this because Eve's atmosphere would be thicker, and I wouldn't need anything but these parachutes. So yeah, there's simple landing just on the parachutes, and I'm sure I would imagine this would work on Eve and on Lathe without changing anything about the rocket. Maybe adding a little bit more fuel to get to Lathe. I'm gonna land this thing and then go for quite the joyride, and you'll get to see it. I just roll around on the planet for a few minutes, and it was a blast. I plan on landing these all over the solar system, and in case anyone is curious, I am not sending rescue missions, and there's no fuel in this tank, so this Kerbal is just stuck on Duna, and I'm okay with that, because I just go into the tracking station, load him up, and I can roll around Duna. And like I said, when we land everywhere else, I'm going to be able to do that, just roll around on all the planets. The game is kind of glitchy right now, and there's a chance that something happens with this vehicle while it's just sitting here and I'm doing other missions. So we'll see if that happens, and if not, I'll just have this guy on Duna, and I can just come here and roll around anytime I want to. Okay, that's about all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this thing roll around on Duna as much as I enjoyed rolling it around Duna.